And if you would like to chant, there's chant books in a box there. There's more in the closet. We'll do a loving kindness chant for those who want to join in on that, but it's also okay to just listen if you prefer. And for those of you online, I think James is putting a link to our chant book, which is just on our website. So it's really good to be with everyone tonight. My name is Gabe, and I'm the operations manager here at Common Ground, and I'm filling in for Mark, who's away out of town right now. So this is our monthly loving kindness group. I'm just curious, has anyone, I know there's some people, has anyone not been to Common Ground before? If you don't mind. Welcome, glad you're here. So I'll just introduce this topic really quickly, and then we'll do a chant, then I'll lead a guided meditation, I'll offer a few more thoughts, and then we'll have some time for just open discussion at the end. I was thinking about loving kindness before coming over here and going through some notes, and I've had this thought before, but just about love, in this more general sense of goodwill, just that sense of somebody who's extended kindness to us in some way in our life, or kindness when we extend it to others, that it's sort of like the universal currency, or just a very important human need that we have, and that it sort of makes life worth living, is those moments where we feel connected, or we feel like we belong. And I think love is a big part of that. And and just with so much suffering in the world, in our own lives at times, it's sort of what makes, maybe this is a little pessimistic, but it's what makes it worth, life worth living. If it was just the difficulty in life, it would be really intolerable. But this capacity that we have to care, it's sort of without it, everything is meaningless. But with it, it gives the struggles this other dimension, which is that they matter. I'm someone who thinks a lot about technology and AI, and not to get too into that, but there's this possibility of a lot of what we have taken to be uniquely human capacities, of that no longer being the case. And so it may be a time collectively as a species to be reflecting on this less concrete, it's harder to measure, but it's subjectively very important. As humans, we literally can't survive without love, as mammals, So that's just built into our system. And this is one way of looking at the whole path of practice. There's the development of wisdom, but there's also the development of wisdom around this vulnerable nature that we have. And it's sort of what brings us to practice and keeps us practicing, is this intention of care, caring for our own well-being and for the well-being of others. So really happy to be here tonight, to be reflecting on this really important capacity of our hearts. And it's not just an intellectual reflection, but it's something we can explore in the present moment. We have a heart, And how's the heart doing? And what's our relationship to the heart? And can we sense into that very basic, simple capacity to care, to wish well, whether that's for ourselves, whether that's for others, whether that's for both. So this is this beautiful capacity of the heart that the Buddha really encouraged us to pay attention to. And by paying attention to it, it tends to grow on its own. So let's chant the Buddha's words on loving kindness for those of you who want to join in. That's on page 28. And if you haven't chanted here before, there's little marks. So if there's an arrow above a word, it means to go up in the tone. And if there's an arrow pointing down, it means to go down. And if there's a line under a word, it means to hold it a little bit longer. Okay, so now let us chant the Buddha's words on loving kindness. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm, and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be at ease, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born. May all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child. So with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. So we'll settle into some meditation time. Doing your best to sit in a comfortable position, making any adjustments so that you can be both relaxed but also a sense of dignity, sitting in a composed way. And we can begin by simply bringing our attention to our own body sitting here. Having gotten ourselves here, maybe after a busy day, just feeling and allowing whatever is moving in the body, energy, sensation. Seeing if it's possible to bring a sense of kindness to the very sensations and energy that we feel when we turn our attention to our body. Maybe also a sense of acceptance, allowing the body to be as it is. Not demanding anything special from the body, expecting it to be perfect in some way. Instead, meeting the body as it is this evening. With an attitude of kindness. It's okay for the body to feel as it feels. Any emotional energy that might be present, that's also okay. It's okay for that to move, to be felt. And however the mind might be this evening, tired or energetic, scattered or peaceful, Is it possible to simply allow the mind to be as it is? If you'd like, you can bring your attention to your heart center, which is right in the middle of the chest. Sometimes emotions are felt here, or just a sensitivity, energy. What is it like to sit in a relaxed way and simply energetically wish ourselves well? And don't be surprised or frustrated if goodwill towards ourselves isn't immediately apparent, or even if we notice the opposite of goodwill, judging ourselves in some way. Simply including whatever we notice is another way to practice loving kindness or goodwill. This intention to include, to not demonize or shut out any part of our experience. It can be helpful to have some reference point of what metta, loving kindness, goodwill feels like. And so you might want to bring to mind a memory of a time when someone saw your goodness in a really simple way. Maybe a mentor or a teacher. Could be a memory from long ago or recently, a friend who supported you. Or it could be a time when you recognized your own goodness, an act of generosity or kindness. Or you could simply bring to mind a being that elicits love and kindness from you, like a pet or a child. So find whatever way feels accessible to get in touch with the goodness of the heart, its capacity for goodness, for seeing what's beautiful in ourselves, someone else seeing that in us, or us seeing it in ourselves. So take some time to find something that works for you, that feels real, where you have a felt sense of that open quality of heart, that appreciative quality. And you might notice some resonance in the heart center. So you can take as long as you'd like using images, memories, words that help you connect with the intention of well-wishing. And each time you bring something to mind, you can check in with the heart center to see the effect. Perhaps different people or animals or memories come to mind if you invite them, tuning into that flavor of goodness, of the capacity of this heart to appreciate what's beautiful and to wish well. It's fine to start where it's easy. People or animals that our heart naturally feels love towards, feels well-wishing towards, just to get in touch with that capacity. And again, it may be just an image of an animal that you love, or could be an archetype like the Buddha, or some person that you admire, feel gratitude towards. The birds and the rabbits and squirrels seem to be happy now that it's spring. You can feel into the others here in this room. We've all gathered here to reflect on this capacity of the heart to wish well, to include. If you'd like, you can use words. May I be safe and protected in all ways. May I be happy and peaceful. May I be healthy and free from pain. May I take care of this life with ease and joy. Or find your own words. If you have a sense of this well-wishing in the heart, maybe feel some connection with the heart center, it's possible to simply rest with the sensations at the heart center, connected with this well-wishing, and have that be the focus. Just this well-wishing itself, this feeling of goodwill, benevolence towards ourselves, the goodness of the heart that can open, can include. So if you feel some connection physically in the heart center, that's a fine place to put your attention. And if you do feel some warmth or sensation there, and simply allowing it to be felt like a little source of energy, and you can allow it to radiate out to fill the space of the body as much as it wants to, like you're moving a curtain, allowing light from this little sun to pervade outwards in all directions, filling the space of your body, of your mind, but not forcing that, just making space for that to happen if it's ready, if it wants to. And whenever you lose track or confused, not sure what to do, you can just return to your body sitting, encourage a sense of kindness towards yourself, and see if it's possible again to connect with some aspect of your heart that's beautiful. So we'll continue in silence for some time, just doing your best to keep connecting to what feels real, a real sense of appreciation for this heart that is capable of wishing well, and being creative, finding what works for you. remember that when there's some momentum to the connection with the heart center, feeling connected to wishing well, to appreciating what's beautiful, to this capacity for goodness, that it's possible to simply rest in that experience, however we feel that, in the heart center, throughout the body. And so in this aspect of the practice, we're simply allowing that radiance of the heart to be known, to be felt, physically, energetically, emotionally. We're appreciating it, and we're making space for it to grow, to fill more and more of the space of the body and mind. And again, if we lose connection, have no sense of that capacity of the heart, then we use whatever supports us as a reminder that this heart is capable of goodness, of wishing well. We reconnect. But at times when there may be some sense of physical presence to this goodness, this radiance, then it's okay to put aside the words, the images, and simply rest with that experience. So we'll continue for just a few more minutes. And if it feels accessible to you, you can try simply resting in the experience of an open heart that wishes well, including all parts of your experience, allowing that to include as much as it wants to. And as we near the end of our meditation time, simply returning to this body sitting just as it is. Maybe seeing that it's possible to include this body just as it is, nothing special, ourselves having made some effort. So for the final minute or so, just sitting in a simple way with our direct experience. Letting it be as it is, not needing it to be any other way, anything special. So feel free to stretch and stand if you'd like. So now is the time when Chelsea is going to read from our community well-wishing book. So having gotten in touch with our good hearts that can wish well, we can just continue in a relaxed way, including the folks, the beings that Chelsea's going to read about. And do we have the mic? It must be in the closet then. Oh.
Metta for those who have found pride in themselves within the practice. But metta for everyone trying to find the balance between staying informed and not overloading our nervous systems. Metta for those who love someone who is in need of love, for we all are. Metta for anyone experiencing suicidal ideation. May you see that seeking oblivion in these thoughts only multiplies suffering. May you see that you are precious to the universe. May you cast off shame for dark thoughts and be able to view them as a beacon in the night, calling you to take greater care with your heart and surrender to restful compassion for all beings. Metta for Kilmar Abrego Garcia and his family and all other wrongfully detained people. Metta for my father, who is battling stage 4 cancer, and my family trying to support him. Metta and love for Tony Pierce Sands. Metta for Abrego. Peter and Barry and Walter and Francine, Karen and Linda, Lisa and Peter. Metta for Hannah F., Sasha, and her entire family. To all who suffer from feeling broken, may you know wholeness that embraces brokenness. May Marty be free from suffering.
Thanks, Chelsea. Do we open it up, or have we not been doing that? Like for people to also put other names in? Maybe I'm... It might be a little tricky with the hybrid situation, so maybe we could just take a couple and people could pass the mic around. So anyone on Zoom, you could just unmute, and anyone in the room can just, yeah, we'll just do it for a little while. If there's anyone else who wants to join the field of well-wishing. Or you could just speak and I could repeat it. That might be simpler. Either way.
Want to extend metta, loving kindness to all those harmed from genocide, as well as those doing the harm. May everyone have peace in their hearts and find love and safety.
I'll share metta for parents and like mine whose hearts are split between siblings who have different political and other differences, and for the suffering that I know my parents feel, and then metta for myself and my brothers, the suffering that we feel as well.
I'll just throw one more in, metta for a friend, 2 friends who had a baby this week, wishing them ease and protection and love. Well, thanks everyone, that was beautiful. And we don't have to stop vibing in the field of metta. In fact, the Buddha encouraged us to make this our dwelling place, which is kind of a beautiful idea, beautiful aspiration. And yeah, I think it's really something to try out. And it's not that it's easy, but I think one of the values of a group like this, or the more formal metta practices like we were doing, is to get us in touch with that space of the heart that is free of ill will, even for a moment. Because so much of the time we're either distracted or slightly irritated or very upset, that we can lose touch with that capacity that the heart has to wish well in that very simple but powerful way. And it is a powerful thing. It's healing. It's healing for ourselves because it reminds us, oh, this heart has that capacity, and it's beautiful. It's a thing of beauty. It's not personal, really. Like my metta, my capacity to wish well isn't that different from yours, and it's not a competition, because that space is free of ill will. It's filled with just that beautiful wish. And we see how healing it is and how functional it is, in the sense of it's giving us what we want. But so much of the activity in our life is in pursuit of what we think is going to be satisfying. And when we touch into a heart that's free of ill will, even just for a moment, that's filled with this intention to wish well, to connect, and we see that it's what our heart has been looking for. And so it's a process, and the formal practices, like I was saying, they're a way to get in touch with it, because for a lot of us, it's not our default, and there's lots of reasons for that. But touching into it, remembering that that's there, it's a practice like anything else. It's habit. You know, if we practice being irritable and in all the different ways that ill will and aversion arise in our mind, which are really innumerable, then those are the habits that get set in motion. But if we even just start with the intention and some confidence that can come from teachings and from some of these practices, no, this heart, there is something really beautiful here. It's really beautiful, it's healing, it feels good, it feels connecting, it feels functional in the sense that from a space of love, of loving kindness, it doesn't feel like I need to be as guarded, as defended, as anxious as we can feel a lot of the time. It's like, I feel like with this kind of heart, I could show up and I could be functional, I could be useful in a situation, I could respond. So from some bit of our own experience and maybe some borrowed confidence from the Buddha or other teachers who are really teaching this as not just kind of a nice idea. We probably all would agree that love is a nice idea, universal goodwill, it sounds great, but the actual experience of a heart free of ill will is not something that most of us have really taken the time or maybe had the inclination or the confidence to explore in our own direct experience. But the Buddha was really clear that this is just so beneficial. There's one discourse where he lists all the benefits that come from doing this kind of cultivation. I don't have it in front of me, but they're practical things like we sleep better. You can imagine, maybe we know from experience, going to bed with a mind that's irritated, fearful, full of resentment, anger. We're not going to sleep as well as even if just, going to bed, we're reflecting, on ourselves, wishing ourselves well after a day, oh, I did the best I could today, or, something like that, or remembering those that we feel connected to. So this is very practical. It's very, it's not theoretical. It's really about the state of our heart. And like in that chant that we started with, the Buddha, I think the Buddha always set really high bars, and I don't think it's to intimidate us, though it can seem like that, but I think it's to inspire us and to, paint a picture of what's possible. So like that this attitude of mind is functional enough and applicable enough that it could be just sort of our default, that we go throughout the day and we're all day long, we're remembering to be interested in this capacity of the heart to include, to wish well. And again, it doesn't have to be like this exuberant, just overflowing of love, but even just the absence of ill will, or just a heart of friendliness, or a heart that's willing to include. The more that we explore these different ways of looking at metta, the more we get clear that the main function of these practices is to illuminate all the ways that our heart actually trusts ill will and aversion, just how second nature they are. Like, no, this is really, like, we really think that aversion and ill will, in some way throwing something, ourselves, someone else, whatever, it doesn't really matter, throwing something out of our heart, condemning it, that's the way to navigate life. So it's a habit, and it's a mostly unquestioned habit, and it isn't until we encounter teachings that have this really high bar, like this possibility of goodwill in all directions at all times, and that we even start to get interested, even on a theoretical level, like, what would that look like? Like, is that just idealistic and sentimental and a recipe for getting, taken advantage of? Or is it pointing at a liberation of the heart from habits that we take for granted? Like that, no, I really need to hate in order to be skillful, in order to take care of myself, take care of others. And to me, that's one of the beauties of this practice and these teachings, is they get us to look at how much we rely on and trust ill will in all of its little forms. And that bar of like goodwill, well-wishing in all directions at all times, if we're inspired by that, or if we feel like there might be something to that, then the practice is even more than cultivating sort of a depth of a deep feeling of love, which is beautiful. But the breadth is almost, to me, more inspiring, because it's like when I'm in traffic and someone does something, or when someone, I perceive that someone has wronged me in some way, and it's justified to feel ill will, then it's really interesting, because the question, and this is important because we may have baggage from other teachings that we have heard, or just things that people say, or where we think that the point of being kind or loving is so that other people see that we're kind and loving, and that it's sort of something airs that we put on, and it's a way of masking over the real anger that arises for all of us, or irritation or fear, that it's a denial of that. But it's actually just asking the question, not that that's bad, it's not saying that aversion is bad, but from the point of view of someone who wants what's best, who wishes well in the deepest way for myself and for others, it does ill will and aversion, the inner pushing something out of our heart, condemning, hating, does that actually help? And to imagine ways that we could take care of ourselves, have boundaries, say no, even, we could call it fierce compassion. So there can be a strength, there can be a clarity, but it's coming from the place of, I wish everyone well. Even just that question, would it be possible to wish everyone well? That doesn't mean that we like everyone or approve of what everyone is doing, but that on a deep level, we wish that everyone would have the capacity to be deeply well. And if people are deeply well, they're not causing harm. So that's kind of an intellectual way we can find our way to that wishing well. But on a more direct level, we can just ask, is this hatred that we might feel maybe towards people that we see as causing harm, is that helping anyone? Is it helping the people who are being harmed? Is it helping me? Is it actually hurting the person I want to hurt, or is it just hurting me? The Buddha said that hatred is like picking up a hot coal to throw at someone, but we're the ones who are getting burnt. So there's a lot in this arena. It's not, it's a purification practice. It's not just all roses. It's an intense practice, which maybe some of you experienced tonight. It's not easy, because it tends to bring up the opposite. We bring to mind, we're instructed to bring to mind well wishes for ourselves, and we see all the ways that we judge ourselves. But it's that bringing to light of our heart's dependence on ill will that can kind of break our hearts and inspire us to, when we see it that clearly, it's like, oh wow, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, some of the ways that we can talk to ourselves and treat ourselves. And that can really inspire compassion. So, especially at these times, politically, societally, globally, it's an intense time. It feels like, I thought, yeah, just that this reflection on the breadth, that the Buddha offered these teachings on goodwill, compassion, appreciative joy, and equanimity as really functional ways of taking care of our hearts and taking care of others. So these are the 4 Brahma Viharas, or divine abodes, places our hearts can rest, that's beautiful and that allows us to be in the world. If we don't have these divine abodes, they would allow us to meet life as it is. So to feel connected. Metta is what allows us to feel connected, to not just feel like I'm an isolated atom. But no, this heart cares and it can appreciate what's good. And because I know that I'm a vulnerable being and I care about my life, well, there's all these other people. They must also care about their life. And that's the birthplace of empathy and appreciating that we all have that capacity for goodness. And then compassion is that heart that connects to suffering, but specifically connects to that we are touched by suffering. We can feel numb to suffering because we're just exposed to it so much. But compassion is that which it's painful, but there's also a connection there. And that, that just kind of allows us to be real and to live in the world we actually live in, which has so much suffering. That capacity to be touched by suffering and to, if there's something that we can do, then we do what we can, but we also know that there's times when there isn't something apparent that we can do, and compassion still cares, it's still connected. And they all interrelate, so equanimity is the 4th, but it's with all of them, which is kind of the wisdom aspect, that we're limited in what we can do, how we can respond, and we're touched by that. The 3rd is appreciative joy. So we have, all of us, I think, a negativity bias. So even just to bring to mind what's beautiful, what's good, people's good fortune, all the good that people are doing in the world, or just the simple joy of a child experiencing something they like, or a bird in spring, or whatever it might be, that this is also part of reality, that we let that in. This can be the most challenging one because we have that strong negativity bias, but it's really essential. This is joy. We need to touch into that. And it also undermines that feeling of disconnection and competition, when it's not that your happiness is a threat to my happiness, but I can see success in your life, or the things that bring you happiness or that you're good at, and I can be delighted by that. And then equanimity is just that deep recognition that what we can do is limited, but we still care. So it has this coolness that allows us to rest with things as they are and not become overwhelmed by the suffering, or exuberant, overexcited by what we perceive as good and happy or beautiful. But it's that deep understanding that life has pleasure and pain, that we care, and what we can do is limited. So what is that capacity that allows us to stay connected without thinking I'm going to somehow control everything and be the master of the universe? So recognizing limitation. And equanimity in relation to other people too is beautiful, because we're recognizing that with other people in particular, other people have their own journey. There's a traditional phrase, equanimity phrase, your happiness and unhappiness depend upon your actions, not my good wishes for you. And that can sound like cold, but it's the truth. And it's an interesting marriage of kindness and this equanimity, this wisdom that, in my experience, actually allows me to be closer to others, whether they're suffering or happy, when I'm recognizing that there's only, that really, yeah, their joy, their heart is their own journey, and I can care. I can really put my attention on my capacity to care, but once I start trying to control them, tell them, oh no, you really should do it this way, and then you'll be happy, or I can't handle that you're suffering, it's going to contaminate me. So that equanimity is just that understanding that we live in this mixed universe, and that it's possible to keep an open heart while recognizing that we're not going to figure this all out single-handedly. We're not going to be able to make everything happen the way we want. So then what kind of heart can stay open with that? So I'll leave my thoughts there so we have some time to hear from other people in the room or on Zoom, how you're finding these teachings, these practices useful in your life, or any questions about anything that I have shared. Yeah, what comes to mind in this arena of the heart? Yeah. And let's wait for the mic, Corey. Thanks. We got our Zoom friends.
I was thinking about emotions. You know, the line, like we can't change our emotions or control our emotion. We can't control our emotions, but we can control our response to our emotions. And it was like we kind of tend to maybe want to replace our emotions, especially the negative afflictive type, with the Brahma Viharas. But that's not, we can't replace our emotions with Brahma Viharas, but we can replace the response to our emotions with the Brahma Viharas. That's what it seems more like. It's more of a response system than like a operating. Well, I don't know. I'm not, I contradict myself pretty quickly there, but yeah. And then I was thinking about, well, just these last few years, kind of been in circles that you know, maybe you utilize a little bit more petitionary prayer in this way, and some people are really eloquent with it. So I was like, this is a good medicine, you know. So my resistance to it, you know, was like, well, I better kind of work with that. And so it was like, you know, this tendency to want to fix somebody or help them. There's something wrong with them, and you want the higher power to intervene on their behalf or whatever it is, and then just kind of working that, cleaning that up, you know, get it clean, and there's nothing really wrong, you know, and just kind of making it like, you know, maybe just imagining, or even, it's good to have I like to start with the gross and then get more and more subtle, right? Start with the narrative, and then get more and more finer grain, and, you know, start thinking about the positive qualities like this, and then just seeing the person as whole, and it gets finer and finer, and the language gets less and less, and then also the desire to fix anything gets less and less, and everything just kind of, and then left with the feeling tone, and that's been pretty helpful for me, more so than the phrases has ever been. You know, it's just like, just start gross and get subtle, and then and the problem's fixed.
Your problem with their problems fixed. Yeah. Which makes you probably in the best, because if you don't have a problem with their problem, then you're probably in the best position to actually, see what might be helpful, if anything. But as long as we have a problem with someone's problem, then yeah, we're just kind of like, can you stop having that problem so that I can be okay? Yeah, and that's not metta, that's aversion.
Right.
So yeah, that seems great. Yeah.
Just kind of really put your assumptions out there. Like,
Right.
I want to fix their cancer or whatever. And then kind of start pulling back from that a little bit. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. There's plenty of time for, Adam.
Yeah, and just what you've been talking about, you mentioned ill will a lot, and it just got me thinking about the relationship between ill will and metta, or loving kindness, or goodwill, in that, it seems like the absence of ill will isn't necessarily metta, that there's like an active component to it, like a cultivation to it. But maybe I'm wrong with that at some point. Do you see it as, if you have ill will, that you really can't obviously metta isn't present, but if you're talking about like really having that as your operating system, or something that's just there, and your response to the world comes out of that, like as the sort of the baseline, with having loving kindness, with having goodwill. Do you kind of just see it as, okay, if ill will is present, then that sort of there needs to be awareness of that, and then you can then start to cultivate goodwill, metta from there. And then I guess as a sort of related to that, I don't know if I necessarily I've never really thought of it that way in like the literal definition of the word ill will. Like I haven't thought of that as the opposite is goodwill. So I guess that's what kind of got me thinking about that. It's just one of those words that you hear and the definition of it, but you don't kind of think about what it is. Kind of like, you see words sometimes and you're like, wow, I've never really looked at that word, and it's kind of weird, like ketchup or something, so it's just like ill will. Oh yeah, that's the opposite of goodwill. Okay, well, so that just got me thinking, is like, how do you sort of see the progression to sort of get to this point where you're seeing that? And really with me, ill will, I like aversion, some of these words don't have that connection with me, and maybe just because they're a little broad, and the more subtle words are the things that I probably struggle with on a more daily basis. Like, is it related to like judgment, like self-judgment, that like ill will directed to yourself, or just the things that you can't control when you're seeing other people and you're like, oh, why are they wearing that, or this and that, that kind of thing. So I guess that was where I was getting at. It's like there's all these really subtle things that are ill will is present. I'm noticing judgment for myself, for others, and then once that's gone, it's not necessarily goodwill. It doesn't seem like the opposite. It seems like that still needs to be something that's cultivated. So,
Well, I think it's a question, and we can check it out for ourselves. Like next time you have a moment, next time you think you might be in a space where there's no ill will, you could check. Well, it seems like there's no ill will here right now. What does that feel like? And ill will can be subtle. So, and just to ask that question and to be on the lookout for the absence of ill will. And one place that we can look for that is moments where we do feel like there's goodwill in the heart, maybe with a being, an animal or a child, or, some being where it's simple, not complicated, and we're just, for me, like, I like birds, so, But so one way of looking at that experience would be, oh, I love this bird. And I could be like, looking at it that way, like, oh, my heart is full of love for this bird. But another way of looking at it would be that there's nothing right now, because my heart is oriented towards appreciating this bird, there's no part of my heart right now that wishes anyone any ill will. And so they're both relevant, but in some way the absence of ill will is more relevant because we experience so much ill will, most of us. So to recognize a mind that is completely free of ill will and how liberating that is, that's really, and how good it feels. It's onward leading. Yeah.
Well, it just makes me, it makes me consider and like suspect that I'm, ill will's not present, but there's still this kind of heaviness, is like there's more layers of onion to be pulled away when and then when that's pulled away, there's this outflowing, or there's this kind of radiant joy, love, that kind of thing. And so it just makes me suspect, it's like, well, maybe there is more, that more ill will here that might be just kind of crusted on through the years, you know what I mean? That you got to kind of crack away.
Yeah, and that's one of the beautiful things about doing more formal loving kindness practice. Again, I think it's because those moments of an absence of ill will are so rare, and even when we might experience them, we may not have had like the wherewithal or the sort of invitation or pointing out instruction to be like, no, this is really relevant, like that this heart is totally free of ill will, wishes well, or has no ill will in all directions. So yeah, I think we can approach it in both ways. So, and it kind of, I think they really support each other, because it just is a beautiful experience to have. So, to whatever degree that's accessible to us, to do the formal practice, or just to, whatever it is, things that just naturally bring that up, to notice that, what that's like. And then all throughout our day, to just be interested in, hey, is there any ill will present? What does that feel like? Would it be possible to relate to the situation, to relate to myself, to relate to others, with a heart that feels more like free of ill will? Like, do I have to hate anything in order to be a functional, skillful human being? And just exploring in that way in our day, and it's in the moments when ill will is there. And we probably start with the smaller forms of ill will, like just, minor irritation, just grumbly, just kind of crabby or whatever. And, could I include that? So just to include that, is there a problem? Do I need to have a problem with that? And we learn so much at those kind of crux points, but we can only really have curiosity about those moments of ill will with some confidence that's come from some of those moments of an absence of ill will that we've recognized. Like, oh yeah, this makes total sense. This really feels good. It feels functional. It feels like I'm not denying anything. I'm not repressing. I'm including my experience, but I'm just not relating to it in that habitual way, which is, aversion. It's this. In any way, it's this. So you're right that there's so many subtle ways. It's every way that the habit that we've cultivated throughout our whole life, who knows, maybe past lives, of saying, no, not that. Nope, this isn't included, this doesn't belong. So I think, there's layers, but the beautiful thing is that it's a natural process, and we just follow whatever little bit of confidence or interest that we have because it feels really good.
Yeah, and just kind of surround yourself. Like, that's why people have pictures of their kids and family at their desk at work.
Yeah.
And like their dog and whatnot. And,
Yeah,
you know, it's just you
exactly.
need is all the fuel for getting you back to that spot.
Totally, totally. Yeah. So we use it, yeah, we use everything we can because it's good. It's good for us and it's good for others.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thanks, Gabe.
thanks, Adam. Yeah, time for a just short thing.
Yeah, I just, unless someone else, burning question. Okay. I'm doing a project around dehumanization right now, and I was wondering if Buddha had any teachings around how to respond to hatred, or like that kind of, or a sense of what the Buddha might have said around responding in the moment if someone's like, you know, expressing hatred or something in the moment, how to react to that. What might be supportive for the person in finding more love.
Yeah, the Buddha was really clear about hatred and that hatred never ceases by hatred, but by love alone is healed, and just the layers that, this is sort of me extrapolating, but yeah, the layers of aversion, you know, yeah, it's deep. So basically, like similar to what Adam and I were talking about, we need to start somewhere. And so whether that, hopefully everyone has had some experience of being loved and being seen, as a beautiful being or appreciated just for who they are. So, getting in touch with that. And if that doesn't feel accessible, then nature never judges us. So nature can be a source of just being able to let our guard down, appreciate the beauty that's just offered freely. Archetypes like the Buddha or Kuan Yin, these symbols that stand in for that capacity of the heart to love, to be appreciated, to appreciate. So yeah, we need to start somewhere. So for every person, it will be different. But the grasp or the seduction of hatred and aversion it's sort of like its own universe, and we see cycles of violence and all of that. So yeah, we need to find some access to our own goodness, despite whatever challenges, which I know can be overwhelming for people. So that's why these practices are, in a way, to have the conditions where we can even bring that to mind. Not everyone may have that, but it is healing, and it can be a support for people. So yeah, that's one of the great functions of metta, is that it can feel like I was saying at the very beginning, like in a world with so much suffering, it can give people meaning even when our lives are really hard. So yeah, in whatever way we can find that in ourselves, and we can be an example for others, but it has to be real. It has to come from somewhere. It's not just an idea. It's all on a level, this level of metta, it's relational. So some memory or some being, it doesn't even have to be a human being, right? Some connection to a plant, to a pet, something that it's like, no, this heart still has that capacity for goodness despite, aversion, the real aversion and hatred that exists in the world. Yeah, thank you. So it's time to let go of the words. Maybe we can take a breath together. Appreciate being together and reflecting on this beautiful capacity of our hearts to feel connected and inclusive. And we can practice that together for just a few seconds with our own experience, however it might be, the body, the mind, the heart. Just allowing it to move, to be just as it is in this moment. Thanks for your kind attention, everyone. And I'll turn it over to Chelsea for a few announcements.
Yeah, so there's just a few things coming up that I want to let everyone know about. For those of you who are new to the practice, there is an introduction to mindfulness meditation workshop on Saturday, May 17th with Stacy McClendon. So that's going to be great, starting at 9:30 and goes till 4. And then for folks wanting to have an opportunity to deepen your practice, there's a half-day retreat here with Shelley on May 3rd. Oh, that's tomorrow. And then a day-long retreat with Mark on the 24th. And then there's some practice periods coming up out at the Prairie Farm Retreat Center in Wisconsin as well. So you can look at the website and check out those dates and sign up if that is something you're interested in. And of course, all kinds of other things too. It's all listed on the calendar on the website. And then just so everyone knows, all of the programs here, whether it's a retreat, an overnight retreat or a workshop or an evening class like this or a yoga class, everything is offered freely. And so please receive it freely, and if your heart is moved to give, that is also appreciated, and we will receive with a lot of gratitude on the other end of that giving and receiving cycle as well. So if you want to give with money, there's a bowl on the other side of this wall. You can put in cash or check, or if you have a credit card, there's a credit card reader out there, or a QR code for Venmo. And if you don't, have money, but you want to give your time, that is an option as well. There's a lot of volunteer opportunities, like in the garden, landscaping, doing hosting, like what I'm doing, cleaning the building, all kinds of stuff. So you can just shoot an email to the center and we'll get you connected. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Oh, and I forgot to say, on nights when we have a guest teacher, like tonight, Gabe is our guest teacher, all the donations get split, so it's a third of them go to the center, and then 2/3 go to the guest teacher. So, okay, thank you.